On today's episode of Warehouse Safety Tips, we're going to be talking about potential hazards in the workplace. So stay tuned. Welcome to Warehouse Safety Tips. If you're a seasoned vodcast viewer, this vodcast is going to be different from most that you watch. It's based around exactly what the name implies, warehouse safety tips. And since the people in this industry are busy, we know that time is money, so each episode will be as short and to the point as possible. And now, with all that out of the way, let's get to the vodcast. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about 5 potential hazards that you could have in your workplace. Now, these are going to be hazards that, even though there are 5 categories that we're going to give you, there's many different examples within each one, but this is going to be a very great place to start. A hazard, as it's defined in the factory and warehouse settings, is going to be a potential source of harm or adverse effect on persons or a person. So what we want to talk about is the very first one, and that is going to be a physical hazard. And that is going to be, in this particular case, behavioral. So there are 2 things that are going to be right off the jump, things that you're going to know happen in your workplace and why you just actively need to avoid it. The first one is going to be negligence. And that is going to be in the form of not using your personal protective equipment or PPE, maybe doing things that are unsafe when people aren't watching, or just things that generally are those things that you know you're not supposed to do, but because someone's not watching, you may think that you can get away with. It's those things that people will say, we've done it 1,000 times and nothing ever happened until now. Those are the things that you want to really think about, the negligence, the things like walking into an area you know you're not supposed to be in, or again, lack of PPE, or using it wrong instead of not using it at all. Those things are going to need to be actively avoided. The second one is one that you see a lot, and it might seem fun at the time, but there's always an issue, just waiting in the shadows, and that is horseplay. You might think that having fun riding around on a lift, or hanging onto a forklift, or running, or just jumping out and scaring someone, anything that has to do with horseplay might again seem fun, but there's no room for horseplay in the workplace, especially in a factory or a warehouse where just because you're playing, someone else might not be, and if you're in the wrong place at the right time, there can just be issues. So make sure that with the 2 behavioral physical hazards, you actively avoid doing those. The next 2 are going to be things that PPE is going to come into very, very high use, and the negligence side as well. And that are number 2 and number 3, chemical and biological hazards. That's going to be things like the actual chemicals that you use. It's going to be things like any sort of things that can get into an open cut because you're not wearing your gloves, could get into your eyes because you're not wearing safety goggles, or could get on your skin. That is going to be an issue. So you want to make sure that not only you're keeping yourself safe in the form of things not getting into an open sore or a effect on your body itself, but then the other thing is making sure that you are absolutely safe around those chemicals and that you don't mix them, you don't leave them laying out, you don't have them in an area where they could cause a fire, and a myriad of other things. But those 2 are going to be ones that you actively want to avoid as hazards. The next one is going to be something that you can also combat against, and that's ergonomic hazards. Not standing correctly, not sitting correctly, not having your keyboard, if you are working on a keyboard in a certain way, or your mouse placement. Anything that you're doing that is repetitive or that you are doing all the time in a certain position, you want to make sure that you are paying close mind to posture and just the way that you hold yourself, because those repetitive and constant things that you do can take toll on you over time. So make sure you pay attention to them. And last but not least, psychosocial hazards, things like stress, and violence in the workplace. You don't think that they may exist, but you never know what's going on at home with somebody. They might come in with baggage that they brought from their outside life, or a problem that they're having with staff inside a facility. So make sure that you are always keeping those things in mind. And a sixth thing that we don't even have listed is just making sure that you have a constant training about these things, and also a place to seek assistance in the form of management, some sort of a in-house HR that can talk to you, or just anything that you can do to learn more about these hazards and how to fix them and avoid them. So thank you very much for being part of yet another episode of Warehouse Safety Tips. We thank you for that. We hope that you have a great day. Stay safe. And here is a word from one of our sponsors.
It's scientifically unexplainable. It's virtually indestructible. And it's taking over the entire planet. But in a really good way. It's Mighty Line Floor Tape, the most durable floor tape in the world. 7 times thicker than average floor tape. Beveled to endure pounding warehouse traffic. And backed with a super strong peel and stick adhesive, so you'll never have to worry about painting shop floors again. Mighty Line Floor Tape, the only durable stripe.